with Liz Truss being the new Prime Minister and with Parliament being all back from recess, we now have PMQs all over again, which means loads of free content for me to watch. So we're going to watch that now. Let's bring it up.
Stopped protocol negotiations back in February. Now she's Prime Minister. Stopped protocol negotiations back in February. Now she's Prime Minister.
Just got to skip ahead to when she actually stands up and starts talking. Come on. There we go.
Language interpretation proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. I'd also like to take this opportunity to welcome the new Prime Minister to her place. And I know she will ensure that any statements will be made in the House first. We now come to number one, and we start.
Stopped protocol negotiations back in February.
Can't believe I fucked that one out.
Right, before the Prime Minister to her place.
He really is.
And I know she will ensure that any statements will be made in the House first. We now come to number one, and we start with Paul Hamilton.
Order! Order! I mean, we all miss Burko, really. He has such nice things to say about Jeremy Corbyn. He's probably the only Tory MP ever to have nice things to say about Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, let's have question number one.
Mr. Speaker, I'm honoured to take my place as Prime Minister in this House and to take on responsibility at a vital time for our country. I'm determined to deliver for everybody across our United Kingdom. I will work constructively with all members of this House to tackle the challenges we face. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I warmly welcome the Prime Minister to her place? It's her first PMQ and it's also mine. In a leaked audio tape, the Prime Minister is heard saying that British workers need to put in more graft and that they are lacking in skill and application. She also wants to take away their basic...
I mean, it absolutely is a cringe fest, but, you know, people might actually watch this and go, oh, right, I didn't realise that she said that she thought workers were fucking lazy cunts. Well, there you go.
Basic workers' rights. In my Erdington constituency, the latest figures from the Commons Library show that children over 7,000 households are living in child poverty, and that 68% of those households have working parents. So does the Prime Minister believe that thousands of working parents on low income in my community should just put in more graft?
I congratulate
Not a bad question.
the Honourable Lady on her first Prime Minister's question. And what I am determined to do as Prime Minister is to make sure we have an economy with high wages and high-skilled jobs. And the way I will achieve that is through reducing taxes on people across our country and boosting economic growth. That is the way that we will make sure we get the investment.
It's not, yeah, because that's definitely a thing that has happened over the past 43 years, right? Of all of the extra growth we theoretically got in all of those years, people's wages didn't even go up that much. In fact, we've had 10 years of stagnant wages, doing literally what she's saying she's going to do now.
And the jobs that people deserve.
I want to warmly congratulate my right and honourable friend on becoming the third woman Prime Minister.
She's... God, how fucking posh are these people? Yeah. Does the Prime Minister agree that puppies are indeed cute? Well met, my honourable friend. I do believe puppies are indeed cute.
I wish her well in her apprenticeship, and I want to ask her about pubs today. A pub restaurant in my constituency in Barnet got in touch with me to say they were struggling to find an energy supplier, and the quotes they had got hold of showed that they would be paying a 600% increase in their bill to £320,000. They can't survive that. Will she ensure her plan to tackle the energy price crisis helps businesses in the hospitality sector, which our communities value so much?
Well, my right honourable friend is absolutely right. The hospitality industry
You
is
think all that money that you get for being a Tory and for being an MP for starters, and second of all, getting all the brown envelopes you get past as a Tory MP, you'd think that MP there would be able to afford a better hairdresser.
vital. And I will make sure in our energy plan that will help support businesses and people with the immediate price crisis, as well as making sure there are long-term supplies available, will help businesses as well as helping individual households.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Sir Keith QC.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I congratulate...
Yeah, fucking wasn't Liz Truss in DEFRA? Actually, wasn't Liz Truss the head of DEFRA when they passed through changes in the legislation that made it easier for the water companies to dump the sewage that they're dumping right now?
the Prime Minister on her appointment? When she said in her leadership campaign that she was against windfall taxes, did she mean it?
Well,
did the objectivist say that she think taxes were bad? Oh, I think she might have done, Keith. What a bloody surprise!
thank the right honourable gentleman for his welcome. I hope that we will be able to work together, particularly on areas we agree on. And I know that we have had strong
Yes, because there are this great thing known as agreeing with the Conservatives. Fucking hell.
support from the opposition in opposing Vladimir Putin's appalling war in Ukraine. And I want us to continue to stand up to that appalling Russian aggression that has led.
One thing that's weird, right, is that from an optical perspective, the Tories seem to be really, and you're hell-bent on kind of hammering home this, we need to be able to get through this because of the war in Ukraine. When the vast majority of people, the general public, they've all forgotten about the invasion, right? All of the Ukraine flags are slowly disappearing from the Twitter profile pictures and from the Twitter profile names, sorry, and the Facebook profile pictures, right? People are now that it's old news and we realise that it's for forever war. People have stopped. Is that really a way they're going to actually garner sympathy, get public support? I don't think so.
To the energy crisis we face now. I am against a windfall tax. I believe it is the wrong thing to be putting companies off investing in the United Kingdom just when we need to be growing the economy.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for that answer. I ask because the Treasury estimates are that the energy producers will make £170 billion in excess profits over the next 2 years. The Prime Minister knows she's no choice but to back an energy price freeze. But it won't be cheap, and the real choice, the political choice, is who is going to pay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you really wanted to put them off investing, you just hostile take over all of the oil the oil deposits in the North Sea, like I did in my YouTube segment yesterday. Right? If you really wanted to stop them investing, you just literally just nationalise the whole lot of it, Mossadegh style. Which, to be fair, they absolutely should do. Right? That's the stealth solution to all of this. Is just to take over the North Sea using the state, but they won't. Obviously, they won't do that. But yeah, do you think that they're not going to continue trying to drill for oil and gas in the North Sea? That even if they're going to make even more, because this is excess profits that Keith is talking about here, right? He's also about their overall profits, or their shareholder dividends. He's talking about excess profits that they've been making. Things that's not earmarked for investment anyway. So a windfall tax on that is essentially just risk free. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we'd actually had a state oil and gas extractor like Norway do, we wouldn't have needed to have done a wealth tax. We'd have just had the money coming into the exchequer to be able to have the sovereign wealth fund in the first place. Yeah.
Is she really telling us that she's going to leave these vast excess profits on the table and make working people foot the bill for decades to come?
Really reasonable question to do there. I was worried the framing was going to be, well, how much there's so many billions. How can you justify all of this excess borrowing? Which is the wrong framing. The right framing is that the profits. It's bad that they're making the profits. We all understand. People have an innate understanding of how absolutely rancid all these excess profits are. Right? They understand what that means and what that would even entail. Physically, right? They know how that manifests. That's what they're pissed off at. They're not pissed off at whether or not the deficit goes up or not.
Well, I understand that people across our country are struggling with the cost of living and they're struggling with their energy bills. And that is why I, as Prime Minister, will take immediate action to help people with the cost of their energy bills. And I will be making an announcement
I think Liz Truss is just so pathetic. I don't think she'll be able to claw it back, but she's definitely got a better chance than Johnson did.
this House on that tomorrow, and giving people certainty to make sure that they are able to get through this winter and be able to have the energy supplies and be able to afford it. But we can't just deal with today's problem. We can't just put a sticking plaster on it. What we need to do is increase our energy supplies long term. And that is why we will.
But yeah, you could actually literally just print the money, right? That money is only just going into the pockets of the foreign companies who extract our oil and gas that would then pay the money for, right? Like, the idea that would cause additional, like, printing the money would cause loads of inflation. I really don't think that's the case.
Open up more supply in the North Sea, which the honourable gentleman has opposed. That
Yeah,
is why we will
bombs,
build
yeah.
more nuclear power stations, which the Labour Party didn't do when they were
Like, we have such a strong internal economy, we could just issue internal bonds forever.
in office, and that is why we will get on with delivering the supply as well as helping people through the winter.
Well, I look forward to tomorrow's statement, but the money's got to come from somewhere. And she knows that every single pound in excess profits she chooses not to tax is an extra pound on borrowing that working people will be forced to pay back for decades to come. More borrowing than is needed. That's the true cost of her choice to protect oil and gas profits, isn't it?
Well, I guess by framing it both as the profits are bad and the borrowing is bad, that's better than nothing, I guess. I thought he was just going to go down the magic money tree line, but he seems to be at least slightly above my expectations.
Mr. Speaker, the reality is that this country will not be able to tax its way to growth. The way we will grow our economy...
I mean, they're both... I don't think it's even from the right. I think it's just different kind of shades of right-wing, right? Because there are the kind of right-wingers who believe that, it's important to always be on a deficit reduction plan, right? Just want to always reduce the deficit over and over and over again. That's their motto. And there's the other ones who are just like, well, we can never tax. These are two different kind of strains of the same kind of right-wing political cue. But, it's true, deletion clause, you're absolutely right. You should absolutely borrow in recessions. That's very true, to be able to keep the economy functioning. But they're not borrowing in the recession to be able to invest into infrastructure, what you really should be doing during a recession. What they're actually doing is just paying that money into the pockets of the shareholders of the people extracting gas in the North Sea. Obviously, the fiscally responsible line is it's always going to be there bad. But I think that saying that they're attacking from the right when, Keith is at least using the platform to say that the profits are bad and should be taxed, that's better than what I expected, which was very low to begin with.
Is by attracting investment, keeping taxes low, delivering the reforms to build projects quicker. That is the way that we will create jobs and opportunities across our country.
So, Mr. Speaker, her first act as Prime Minister is to borrow more than is needed because she won't touch excess oil and gas profits.
Well, yeah, obviously, the Labour windfall tax was pathetic. But, no one has to know about what their windfall tax would have been when he's trying to crash them at PMQs, right?
On that topic,
that is true. The Tories are keeping the grant payment but freezing the cap higher. So
much would her planned corporation tax cut hand out to companies?
The right honourable gentleman is looking at this in the wrong way. The last time we cut corporation tax, we attracted more revenue into the exchequer because more companies wanted to base themselves in Britain, more companies wanted to invest in our country. And if taxes are put up and raised to the same level as France, which is what the current proposal is, and which I will change as Prime Minister, that will put off investors, it'll put off those companies investing in our economy.
No, that's just not the case, right? As you said previously, well, the North Sea oil and gas is always going to be there, so we can just keep, windfall taxing them. We could just have a North Sea tax.
And ultimately, that will mean fewer jobs, less growth, and less opportunities across our country.
Mr. Speaker, it's extraordinary that not only is the Prime Minister refusing to extend the windfall tax, she's also choosing to hand the water companies polluting our beaches a tax cut. She's choosing to hand the banks a tax cut.
To be fair, both of the plans are theoretically protect shareholders. I Actually, the specifics of the Truss plan, as far as I'm aware, is it's going to be them buying the gas at wholesale prices, then selling it at a loss to the producers, right? So at the end of the day, is the explicit thing that is happening is paying huge amounts of money to people extracting oil and gas, extracting the gas in the North Sea, right? Like, obviously we get a gas from the common market, but the vast majority of it is coming from North Sea oil extractors, both Norwegian and British.
She's choosing to hand the banks a tax cut. Add it all together, and companies that are already doing well are getting a £17 billion.
Yes, I mean, I think Centrica are the only extractor and also supplier. Does Centrica actually run any of the actual power plants as well? I'm not sure. Don't know enough.
Tax cut. While working people pay for the cost of living crisis, stroke victims wait an hour for an ambulance, and criminals walk the streets with impunity. Families and public services need every penny they can get. How on earth does she think that now is the right time to protect Shell's profits and give Amazon a tax break?
I'm on the side of people who work hard and do the right thing.
Yeah, just, you know who's working hard? Jeff Bezos, right? Or is it Adam, whatever his name is, the guy who's the new head honcho at Amazon? I forget his fucking name. I was gonna say Adam Lanza for a minute. That's like, no. That's the guy who did fucking Sandy Hook. That's bad. Adam Jassy, that's the one. I don't even know anymore. But yeah, that's the people who work really hard. The people who just sit on top of their investment portfolios.
That is why we will reverse the national.
That's you're so right, Deletion Quarter. Not talking about you essentially opening up the distribution model so that people pay from where their energy comes from, rather than as all one big lot. Because then the reason why it comes from all one big lot is explicitly to protect the suppliers and the producers.
Insurance increase, and that is why we will keep corporation tax low. Because ultimately, we want investment right across our country.
Low corporation tax stops investment because then it's much easier for them to just be able to pay out shareholders. Higher corporation tax makes it more likely to then reinvest the profits because they're getting less of a return by taking it out of the business.
We want new jobs and new opportunities, and that is what I will deliver as Prime Minister.
I mean, they won't be doing that with the plan under Liz Truss, as far as I'm aware, because Liz Truss is subsidising the gas from wholesale rather than subsidising the energy bills through the borrowing at point of sale. I believe that she won't be allowing the renewable companies to make a huge windfall profits off of this crisis. The windfall profit is going to be for the gas extractors rather than for the renewable producers, if that makes sense.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims to be breaking orthodoxy, but the reality is she's reheating George Osborne's failed corporation tax plans, protecting oil and gas profits and forcing working people to pay the bill. She's the fourth Tory Prime Minister in 6 years. The face at the top may change, but the story remains the same. There is nothing new about the Tory fantasy of trickle-down economics. Nothing new about this Tory Prime Minister who nodded through every single decision that got us into
When did Keith grow a spine? What the fuck?
this mess, and now says how terrible it is. And can't she see there's nothing new about a Tory Prime Minister who, when asked who pays, says it's you, the working people of Britain?
Well, there's nothing new about a Labour leader who is calling for more tax rises.
Yeah, he's the first based thing that he said in his life. I mean, regardless of whether it's performative, right? Like, the issue that I've always had is that there's been no desire to change the narrativization from Starmer, right? By buying into rightoid propaganda wholesale in the way that he's positioning himself. Like, you're never going to be able to change people's minds on these narratives by actively taking the position by saying tax rises, windfall taxes are good, saying that corporation tax rises are good, and saying that, huge amounts of new profits in general, like huge windfall profits from crises that affect normal people are bad. Like, that is the narrative that we should be at least using to start with, right? I know I'm being charitable here, but
Same old. It's the same old. It's the same old tax and spend. What I'm about is about reducing.
if Labour are tax and spend, then the Tories are literally have just been borrow and spend. Like, they've not run a budget deficit. They've not run a budget surplus in the entirety of the time Tories have been in power. So even on their own metrics, they're failing.
Reducing taxes, getting our economy growing, getting investment, getting new jobs for people right across the country. I'm afraid to say the right honourable gentleman doesn't understand aspiration. He doesn't understand opportunity. He doesn't understand that people want to keep more of their own money. And that is what I will deliver as Prime Minister. I will take immediate action to help people with their energy bills, but also secure our long-term energy supply. I will take immediate action to make sure we have lower taxes and we grow the economy. And that way, I will ensure we have a positive future for our country and we get Britain moving.
Lower taxes for the people who already have loads of money. Like, these people don't need the tax cuts. I think John McDonnell genuinely believed that it was the right thing, like it was the right kind of narrative to be part of. Like, obviously, I massively disagree, but from reading John McDonnell's memoirs, it does seem like he just wanted to win the election. But yeah, obviously, you know, when we actually have real people on the front lines who are making the actual points about changing society, people like Zara Sultana, like you look at John McDonnell, like it's no comparison really, is there?
Mr. Speaker, and firstly, can I congratulate my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, for a successful campaign to become our party leader and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, it is right and proper that the government focuses its attention on rising energy costs for households across the country. But as we've heard, businesses big and small are exposed to horrific energy price increases, with no restraint provided by the domestic energy price cap and no support from government so far. For the sake of businesses in West Cornwall and on Scilly, the jobs they provide and the economy as a whole, what can my friend, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, do to ease the energy costs facing our businesses?
Well, my honourable friend is right. We do need to address the issues businesses face, and the package that we will be announcing tomorrow will do just that.
Leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Hey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure the thoughts and prayers of everyone in this House will be with the families that were caught up in the terrible shooting over recess in Kyle and McCalsh and indeed in Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a 1.25 times speed. JDMO3 is fucking 40 minutes this year.
As well, and we trust that the families will be fully supported. Mr. Speaker, let me congratulate the Prime Minister and her family on her appointment. But I'm sorry to say that her reputation for straight talking has fallen apart at the first PMQs. After 9 questions, she's still not told us who will pay for our energy plan. Prime Minister, today the public are waiting to find out the response to the economic crisis, and they want answers. So, will the Prime Minister finally answer 2 very simple questions? Will she freeze energy prices at their current levels? And will it be paid for by a windfall tax? Yes or no?
Wait, but didn't she just say that she wasn't going to have a windfall tax? Well, she's already. Well, why are you wasting your questioning?
Well, no, it won't be paid for by a windfall tax. I don't believe we can tax our way to growth. And what I want to see is us using more of our UK energy supply, including more...
More of a UK energy supply? Well, okay, hang on a minute. How about, right, we, instead of paying wholesale gas prices for the gas we're literally extracting on our own territory, how about we paid for that at cost, rather than at the hugely inflated cost that we have to pay on the wholesale market? We can't do that because we sold off all the licenses to North Sea oil drilling to private companies who we have no power over.
Oil and gas from the North Sea, and nuclear power in Scotland as well. And I hope I can count on the SNP's support for that.
Ian Blackford.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I say that on her first full day as Prime Minister, she has failed to rule out.
Shh, let's hear the next question. Ian Blackford.
The Prime Minister may have changed, Mr. Speaker, but it's the same old being shouted down by the Tories. On her first full day as Prime Minister, she's failed to rule out a Truss tax on households and businesses. Instead of targeting the profits of massive corporations with a windfall tax, the Prime Minister planned appeared to be a decade-long raid on the bank accounts of ordinary taxpayers. These costs must not be passed on to consumers and businesses by deferring bills. Government must announce an enhanced windfall profits tax, making sure that those oil and gas producers pay their fair share from excess profits. Does the Prime Minister understand that her first act as Prime Minister will now define her? A Truss tax that households and businesses will be paying for years to come.
Well, I'm not quite sure what the right honourable gentleman's position is, because on one hand, he doesn't seem to want oil and gas extraction from the North Sea, and on the other hand, he wants them to pay more taxes. Why does he make up his mind?
I mean, whilst they're doing it, they can definitely pay more tax. I mean, like, do you have to open any new oil fields? Just tax the ones that are already open. I think, isn't that Ian Blackford's, isn't that the SNP's position, is just not opening new oil fields, oil and gas fields in the North Sea? I mean, I don't really care at this point, right? Like, you've got to heat people's homes somehow. Until we move towards renewables, we might as well extract it whilst it's there. But like,
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I also warmly welcome my right honourable friend to her seat as Prime Minister? Mr. Speaker.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the weird thing. Again, when people talk about things like millennials killing certain industries, I'm like, well, no, because there are so many natural monopolies that have been marketized, where essentially the demand is completely inelastic, where gets fleeced for so much of our actual money. We have no money left to consume, and all of the kind of the frivolous stuff that would usually keep the economy going through people buying that shit and spending money on your additional purchases, that now doesn't happen because all of our paychecks go on rent and bills.
Scottish Power, Bulb and E.ON, just three of many energy suppliers that say they provide 100% renewable electricity. Yet constituents of mine in West Dorset are baffled that the energy regulator allows those prices to rise on par with oil and gas. Would my right honourable friend confirm that she is on the side of the consumer in her energy policy that we'll hear from tomorrow?
Well, I certainly am on the side of consumer, and we need to make sure that we deal with all of...
Ah, yes, on the side of consumers by protecting the profits of the people polluting the planet by not taxing the huge excess profit. Okay, brilliant.
The issues in the energy market and the way that energy is regulated, and I will certainly be saying more about this tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister should know by now that many people in the north of Ireland are starving and freezing in their homes. We need a tailored solution for Northern Ireland, but that's much harder to achieve because the DUP are refusing to form a government that's dormant. The new Prime Minister has a choice to make. She can either be on the side of the DUP or on the side of struggling people in Northern Ireland. So whose side is she on?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to work with all of the parties.
Was that someone from Alliance? I don't know. Yeah, it's just such a fucking fantasy land where there's like whether even if the profits do even get reinvested, like we already have information showing that it just doesn't go to anybody else. It ends up just getting funneled back to the top again.
Parties in Northern Ireland to get the executive and the assembly back up and running so we can collectively deliver for the people of Northern Ireland. But in order to do that, we do need to fix the issues of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which has damaged the balance between the communities.
There's no issues with, like, for once, the policy that Boris Johnson did that I actually think is good, and he wants to scrap it because it was a lie in the first. I think the Northern Ireland Protocol works fine. We don't need to scrap it. They just want to be able. They just refuse the jurisdiction of the ECJ, even though that's in the fucking Good Friday Agreement.
In Northern Ireland, I'm determined to get on with doing that, and I'm determined to work with all parties to find that resolution.
Theresa May.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I congratulate my right honourable friend and welcome her to her position as the third female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Can I ask my right honourable friend, why does she think it is that all three female Prime Ministers have been Conservative?
Wait, we're going full girl boss. Let's fucking go. I'm going to do a segment about this girl boss shit later, so I'll let this pass for now.
Well, I thank my right honourable friend for her fantastic question. I look forward to calling on her advice from her time in office as I start my work as Prime Minister. It is quite extraordinary, isn't it, that there doesn't seem to be the ability in the Labour Party to find a female leader, or indeed a leader who doesn't come from North London.
Yeah, she girl bossed the shit out of the hostile environment as well. She really fucking showed those Windrush generation who's boss.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the issue is.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I also congratulate the Prime Minister on her appointment? Mr. Speaker, inflation is at a 40-year high. The NHS is on its knees with 6.6 million people waiting for treatment. Thousands of victims of sexual offences and violent crime are waiting for justice. Not to mention passport delays, a summer of chaos in our airports and our beaches covered in sewage. The Prime Minister has served in every one of the Conservative governments responsible for this mess. So why should the British public trust her to clean up the mess that she's helped create.
I'm determined that we deal with the issues facing us as a nation. We do have problems with our energy supply.
Oh my god, the Aisha Hazarika tweet when she was like, "Oh, when will the macho left allow a woman to be, ahead of the Labour Party?" When she was literally hoping that she literally voted for Starmer and was pontificating about how much she wanted fucking Starmer to be the leader of the Labour Party. Fucking Aisha Hazarika, she grinds my fucking gears. Oh, she's so fucking. I hate her so much.
Due to the appalling war being perpetrated.
Like, even if you wanted continuity neoliberalism, like, Emily Thornberry was right there. She was literally right there, and she's a much better public speaker than Keith is as well, and less transphobic, right? They could have, if they really wanted to girl boss that shit, they could have made Emily Thornberry leader, but no.
By Putin in Ukraine. That is why I will take...
I mean, you say she gets on TV so much too, when literally the entirety of the UK media class are all just as bad as she is, and they all get fucking paraded around on TV like they're fucking received wisdom from fucking stone tablets on Mount Sinai.
Immediate action to deal with the energy crisis. My Chancellor will take immediate action to reduce taxes and make sure we are growing our economy. And our new Health Secretary, who is also the Deputy Prime Minister, will be taking immediate action to make sure people...
Holy shit, Therese Coffey is also Deputy Prime Minister. We're so fucked.
People to get appointments with their GP and proper NHS services.
Pardon the House, Sir Peter Bottomley.
All sides of the House should wish to help the Prime Minister be successful in tackling the problem.
Well, I think you're absolutely right there, Deletion Courtier. I think RLB definitely a better speaker than Starmer, and also not a fucking Mel.
Problems facing the country. When I raised one of them with the former Prime Minister in July, he said I could talk to the Housing Minister, but the Housing
He's even got a Ukraine flag tie on. He's fucking going all out for it.
Tired after 17 minutes of hearing that. Can I ask the Prime Minister to look to see why the Planning Inspectorate are able to overturn Council's planned protections for green lungs, and will she look at what's happening to the Goring Gap, the A259, in Worthing West and in South Downs constituency?
I love these fucking questions. Just some random boring shit from some constituency no one's ever visited.
Because local councils have no role if they can't protect what matters most to them.
Well, I am a bit concerned about offering the honourable gentleman a meeting with the housing minister in case any ill should befall him. But look, my honourable friend is right. There is not enough power in local hands at the moment. It is too easy for local councils to be overruled by the Planning Inspectorate, and that is certainly an issue that I'm expecting my Secretary of State for Housing to look at.
Hannah Bardell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. According to the Prime Minister's new Deputy Prime Minister, one of the things that qualified her most for being PM and was one of her greatest achievements was the reintroduction of beavers. Now, I'm all for the beavers, but given her flip-flopping on Brexit and given her inability to understand global affairs, how can constituents like mine, like Waz Abbas, whose energy prices are going to go from £7,000 to £37,000 a year, or Broadtext in Livingston, who are going to go from £50,000 to £250,000 a month, have any faith that she can tackle the oncoming humanitarian crisis? Is she going to come out of her den in number 10 and take real action, or is she going to be as useless and corrupt as her predecessor, who's rocketed off to somewhere in the Pacific?
I mean, at least somebody's pointed out the fucking mess that she was as Foreign Secretary, right? It's crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. Looking all of the people on the Tory benches wearing the Ukraine flag pins and fucking Mr. Ukraine flag tie over there as well, when Liz Truss did her level fucking best to go and make sure that that war happened in the first place by pissing off Sergei Lavrov. Not deliberately, but just because she's literally she just has like fridge temperature IQ. It's just fucking empty fucking clown smashing the symbols inside that fucking head of hers, right? Like, do you think that Voronezh and Rostov are in Ukraine or Russia? I don't know. Like, she's so fucking dumb.
Well, I am determined to tackle the issues we face in energy, and I look forward to the Scottish Government playing their part by building new nuclear power stations.
Can I just say, I want a nice apology. That was not a good example. I certainly don't want to use corrupt being used against the new Prime Minister. And I'm sure the honourable member...
Oh, you can't say things that are true, but they're also mean. I can excuse rampant corruption, but I draw the line at being mean to people in the House.
I'm sure the honourable member will withdraw it. Just withdraw the point.
Sometimes the truth hurts, but I'm happy to withdraw it.
Pretty much sure. Right. Victoria Rack.
I mean, that's a good way of getting around it, but...
Thank you,
you, Mr. Speaker. May I warmly congratulate my right honourable friend. May I welcome her to her place. But may I also wish her the very best in the heavy responsibilities she now bears.
But they just seem to be getting like fucking exponentially posher. The more of them speak.
Around 1.5 million households across the countryside rely on heating oil in order to keep their homes warm and to cook their meals. They have faced price rises of around 130% in recent months, and they are not part of the energy price cap. As rumours abound about what tomorrow's statement may hold, will my right honourable...
I have people who live in Victorian houses who still use oil lamps to heat their households. What are you gonna do for these fucking like like centenarians who need to heat their homes in an incredibly antiquated fashion?
friend confirms
Yeah, literally fucking Lady Charlie.
that those 1.5 million households, many of them in rural areas such as my own constituency, will be specifically included in any mooted ideas about an energy price freeze.
Well, my honourable friend is right, and many of my constituents too rely on heating oil for their fuel, and we need to make sure that we are looking after everybody in this very, very difficult winter that we're facing.
Martin Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members may be familiar with the work of Bowness firm Ballantyne's Castings, an iron foundry in operation since the 1820s, which in recent years has done much work around the parliamentary estate. Without the protection of an energy price cap, this specialist SME is witnessing unaffordable costs, with bills rising from £13,000 to £120,000 per month. Heavy energy users face a disproportionate burden and clearly need more support than other businesses. What will the PM do to protect our strategically important and energy-intensive industries?
Well, I very strongly agree with the honourable gentleman that there are strategic industries that we need to make sure who use a lot of energy. We need to do all we can to help them become more energy efficient, but we also need to make sure that they're able to remain competitive in the global marketplace, and that is certainly something the Energy Secretary is looking at in preparing this package.
Dr. Kieran.
Well, schools and hospitals just get paid off by the Exchequer anyway, right? Unless I'm very sorely mistaken, like their bills are already covered by the Exchequer for the vast majority of it. Although I guess they might just have budgets. I'm not even sure. Care homes are a big issue though.
Congratulate the Prime Minister on her appointment and tell her I know my constituents wanted to succeed at a difficult time. Outside of the immediate challenges of energy and inflation, levelling up remains a priority for them. One way to demonstrate her commitment to levelling up will be to choose a town like Crewe to host Great British Railways. Can she ensure that levelling up is at the heart of that decision?
I can't believe they're still going with the levelling up idea. Like, I mean, for someone who said that she was just like completely, whose ideology is completely antithetical to the use of state power, the fact that she's continuing the levelling up thing that Boris Johnson introduced is fucking wild to me.
Well,
if it actually happens, it'd be good, but that's a big proviso.
Crewe is, of course, a great railway town. My honourable friend is absolutely right. I'm not going to prejudge the decision that will be made, but what I will be doing as Prime Minister is absolutely focusing on levelling up and making sure we're attracting the investment and growth into parts of this country that have been left behind, so they have their fair share of opportunity.
Alex Davis-Jones.
Mr. Speaker, the new Prime Minister is now finally in post. But make no mistake, she does not have the support of the British public. She can't even rely on the backing of her own MPs. And people in Pontypridd will never forget that she played a key role in a government that failed millions. So will she now finally do the right and decent thing and call a general election?
Mr. Speaker, as a country, we are facing a very serious crisis in energy caused by Putin's war in Ukraine. We are facing...
Order. One of the members for Stoke is getting very carried away. And I know as a former teacher he wants to show better behaviour than he's showing at the moment. Come on, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are facing very serious issues as a country.
Was that Jonathan? Was he talking to Jonathan Gullis again? My God, that guy won't shut the fuck up, right?
Partly as a result of the aftermath of COVID, partly as a result of Putin's war in Ukraine. What the British people want is they want a government that's going to sort it out. And that is what I'm determined to do as Prime Minister, sort out the energy crisis, get our economy going, make sure people can get doctor's appointments. That's what I'm focused on.
I will do the good things and not do the bad things. We believe you, Liz.
Nick Fletcher.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to congratulate my honourable friend for the position as Prime Minister, but I'd also like to thank her for the support of my campaign to keep Doncaster Sheffield Airport open. she now help further writing to South Yorkshire Mayor Oliver Coppard and Peel Holdings Chairman John Whittaker to remind them of their powers, duties and responsibilities to the people of South Yorkshire and beyond? And will she use the full weight of her office on these decision makers so as to keep...
Will she also speak in a really, really monotone voice and not have any charisma whatsoever? How the fuck did I get elected?
our Doncaster Sheffield Airport open?
Well, regional airports, including the Doncaster Sheffield Airport, are a vital part of our economic growth. And what I will make sure is that the new Transport Secretary is immediately onto this issue. I know she is, I can tell. Look, she's already contacting the people in Doncaster and Sheffield to make sure we do protect this
There's another MP who speaks even more like a beaker than he does.
airport, and we protect that vital infrastructure and connectivity that helps our economy grow.
Helen Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd also like to welcome the Prime Minister to her new post. During her leadership campaign, she said that waiting times for ambulances in her rural Norfolk constituency were appalling. And in North Shropshire, I think many of my constituents would agree with that statement. Across Britain, waiting hours and hours for an ambulance has become normal. But instead of focusing on this problem, a leadership fiasco in the Conservatives have seen 3 health secretaries in 3 months.
The thing is that the Tories were dead as a party because of Boris Johnson, right? The fact they've gotten rid of him gives them the chance to be able to be born out of the ashes or some shit, right? Like, if she gets through the energy crisis and if by some fucking miracle the NHS doesn't fucking collapse over the winter, she may bring their polling back from fucking oblivion.
Prime Minister, get a grip on this grave situation and commission the CQC into investigating the causes of and the solutions to the ambulance services delays before the service in crisis faces the additional pressures of an oncoming winter.
People should not have to wait as long as they are for ambulance services, and my new Health Secretary is immediately tackling this issue. She's already laid out her priorities, and sorting out the ambulance service is one of them.
Dame Caroline Downich.
Speaker, can I also very warmly welcome our new Prime Minister to her role and indeed the whole of her front bench. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and as she knows, cancer is still the biggest killer.
I'm getting big substitute teacher vibes.
Of children under the age of 14. So I wonder if she could restate her government's commitment to publish a cancer 10-year strategy, but also embedding a childhood cancer mission at its very heart.
Well, Mr. Speaker, cancer is a devastating disease, and it's particularly heartbreaking when children have cancer. And certainly, we will proceed with the strategy that she talks about. And I know our new Health Secretary will do all she can to help those children with cancer.
Sir Tony Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the theme of children, she will know from her time as Children's Minister that young lungs exposed to cold and damp housing are more likely to fall seriously ill and possibly die. Now, child poverty has been growing during her ministerial time in her different offices. Will she give a solemn pledge and no evasion that there will be no child that will go to bed in a cold, damp house this winter and beyond because the parents cannot afford to put the heating on?
But this is why it's so important that we
Didn't she basically already... What's the fucking point of that question? She's already said she's freezing the bills, right?
tackle the issue of energy.
But obviously they're already a little bit too high than lots of people can afford, and people on benefits are already fucking struggling after the £20 got cut from universal credit, right? So, I mean, she's got to, like, without actually framing it within that, she can just say, well, I'm going to do the freezing the energy bills, and she fucking avoids the question.
And I will make sure that people are able to afford their energy bills at the same time as dealing with the long-term supply issues to make sure that we are resilient in energy and never get into this position again.
Mr. Speaker, it is a standard practice of the European Union that when they can't get their way in negotiations with the UK, they play for time and wait for a new leader who they hope will have a different view to their predecessor. For the sake of clarity, would my right honourable friend confirm that it is the UK's preferred option to have a negotiated settlement as far as the Northern Ireland Protocol is concerned? But if that is not forthcoming, then we will proceed with the protocol bill that is currently going through Parliament.
Well, first of all, can I thank my right honourable friend for his service as Northern Ireland Secretary. He is absolutely right. We need to resolve the issue of the Northern Ireland Protocol. My preference is for a negotiated solution, but
The thing is, like, I don't think you're right, Zio. The thing is with the Tories, as we were speaking about with regards to policy previously, is that they kind of run on this platform of being the fiscally responsible ones, right? But they know that their money, as far as being MPs and being cabinet ministers, comes from just brown envelopes under the table from, big, huge fucking, the donor class, whatever it is, right? Yet they also know they cannot win an election off the back of not being interventionist in the economy. So they actually have the worst of both worlds, where they won't tax people, they'll always protect profits, but they won't ever properly actually go full on and gut the public services people expect. They'll just continue throwing more borrowing at it. That's why as I said, we've never seen a budget deficit, sorry, a budget surplus from any Conservative administration since Major, right? They continue with this kind of klepto neoliberalism, as I kind of coined it previously, where they're happy to continue to borrow huge amounts of money and just kick the can down the road, which is fine. I'm fine with them doing that, but they refuse to be able to deal with people's profits, so they don't ever reduce the deficit ever.
It does have to deliver all of the things we set out in the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill. And what we cannot allow is for this situation to drift, because my number one priority is protecting the supremacy of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
Rachel Hopkins.
Speaker. The new Prime Minister tells us she will deliver on the NHS. Well, that's a turn up for the books, because after 12 years of Conservatives driving our NHS into the ground, we have record waiting lists, people dying in ambulances outside A&E, and nurses using food banks. So given the Prime Minister has served in the past 3 Conservative governments on that watch, can she explain why we should trust her to deliver?
I mean, I don't agree with the way she is talking down our National Health Service. The fact is that our health service...
Yeah, so there's been no growth because there's been no public investment in infrastructure, right? We're still being fucked over from the age of austerity. Like Gordon Brown, for all his faults, like, but at least after the financial crisis, the economy sort of got going again, even like under a capitalist framework, right?
Service did brilliantly in tackling COVID, in delivering the vaccine rollout, and in getting this country back on its feet. But we do face challenges now with the backlog following COVID. And this is why the new Health Secretary is going to work to address those challenges.
Jeremy Wright.
Speaker, I congratulate my right honourable friend on her appointment and recognise her determination to address the many urgent and difficult challenges that face us now. But would she
The
accept...
thing is, like, their ideology is so stupid, right? It makes no literal fucking sense, no matter what the context is, right? Like, the line on the graph isn't even going up either. I mean, it might be going up in... It might be the real line they actually care about is the line of the profit margins of all the companies who pay their bills for them, right? Fucking... Who put the zeros in their bank accounts, rather than, you know, the actual country itself, right?
that one of those challenges is an almost entirely unregulated online space? And would she accept, too, that no responsible government can avoid the need for excellent, balanced, sensible regulation in this space? And would she therefore assure me that the Online Safety Bill will come back to this House swiftly for us to consider further and amend if necessary?
Well, I can assure my honourable friend that we will be proceeding with the Online Safety Bill. There are some issues that we need to deal with. What I want to make sure is that we protect the under-18s from harm, but we also make sure free speech is allowed. So there may be some tweaks required, but certainly he is right that we need to protect people's safety online.
Ellen Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has been part
I love how she's going to tear up huge amounts of legislation, apparently. Like, apparently she ditched the bill of, like, Dominic Grubb's Bill of Rights already. And I think she probably will end up ditching the Online Safety Bill as well, because, you know, it doesn't fit into a libertarian viewpoint. And to be fair, this is one kind of libertarian viewpoint, at least on social issues, that I do agree with. And just randomly cracking down on, like, fucking the stupid shit they try to do in the bill to try and get all people to fucking become verified on Twitter or some shit. That's never going to work.
the government for the past 12 years, which has been systematically letting down the most vulnerable children in the country. The independent review of children's social care, published by the government in May, describes the system as in need of a total reset. The Prime Minister has said she wants to deliver. Will she make a cast-iron commitment to deliver for our country's most vulnerable children and publish the government's response to the independent review and an action plan for delivery before the end of the year? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go, brilliant. What a waste of a fucking question. Will you do the good thing? Yes, I will.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to congratulate my right honourable friend and her whole front bench and wish them every success in the new government. I'd particularly like to thank my right honourable friend for her steadfast commitment to support for the earliest years.
You know, like, I mean, maybe Liz Truss might be so much of a fucking ideologue that she might, if it had not had it gone through its third reading and given royal assent, the crime and sentencing bill, she might even have rejected that. I'm not sure about.
Throughout the 12 years.
I mean, fucking all of the MPs should be abolished. Every MP should be abolished apart from Zara Sultana. Get rid of them all. Zara Sultana is just I'm advocating for dictatorship here. Maybe I'm going too far.
Is that she and I have worked together for 3 previous Prime Ministers. So can I ask her now to renew her commitment to rolling out the Best Start for Life to give every baby the best chance at leading a fulfilling life?
Well, you literally don't. She's going to put them into fucking sweatshops and workhouses. There's the opposite of what she's going to do.
Prime Minister.
My right.
Yeah, fucking Leah Harpin is crying right now. And Leah Harpin's crying like a little girl, and you're laughing at him?
Honourable friend has done such a fantastic job championing this issue, developing the policies, and I am committed to following through and delivering for children, because what we know is intervening early, helping children early is the best way to help those children have a successful childhood and ultimately a fulfilled life.
That ends PMQs.
I mean, Liz Truss did fine. Heath did better than the crap that I expected, and loads of people asked a bunch of pointless questions. So I feel that was a really good use of our time on stream watching that. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Liz Truss. I'm not gonna lie, Goddard, right? Like all of the plans with regards to like things like charter cities and free ports and trying to get out of the ECHR. It's all about tearing up workers' rights, right? They're trying to remove the freedoms of working people in this country and literally try and turn them into fucking indentured servants for the rest of the fucking until forever, basically, right? Like that's the end. That's the end. That's the plan. At the end of the day, like they're going to be trying to get rid of the working time directive and lowering the amount of guaranteed paid holiday was being floated as well. Like she's got some really fucking evil shit planned. Well, they have this. There is just that kind of this. I mean, not even a neoliberal, just a general kind of conservative idea. This idea that hard work is somehow edifying in and of itself, regardless of whether it serves some kind of social utility or whether it's good or whether the outcomes of it are good. Right? This Max Weber style Protestant work ethic shit, where it's good that you are born into huge amounts of far less privileged than other people, right? It's good that your circumstances of your birth are much worse than the rest of the country, because the work that you have to put in to get to where everybody else is going to make you a better person somehow, right? They believe that fucking shit, and that gets filtered down into policy so much, and there's this belief that everything has to come from, everything has to be somehow deserved or not, right? And somehow people who work hard for nothing deserve it. Is the same shit where they go against like means testing, because even though means testing is inefficient and it's better to just do universal programs, if one person got a thing that they didn't theoretically deserve, suddenly the world's gonna fucking collapse. Yeah, that's a good comparison to end this segment on. I think, God, so that neoliberals want to be the ones with the child sweatshops. Libertarians, like libertarian rightists, just want to be the ones with the child militia and other child things on the right libertarian perspective. But I'm not going to say that on Twitch. And with also YouTube viewers, if you're enjoying, please consider liking and subscribing and hitting the bell so it notifies you when I go live as well. You can actually become a member on YouTube now for just 99p. Gets you access to all the emotes on Twitch for a quarter of the price. So if you want to do that, you can definitely do that. Or gift subs in the YouTube chat. That's also a thing that you can do. Or memberships, well, I don't know what the fuck they're called. And leave a comment on the future VOD when it gets put up so that it enhances it in the algorithm.